When a farmer discovers black eggs on his land, he starts to question which animal could have laid them. He decides to monitor them closely, and when they finally hatch, he is so astonished that he bursts into tears. Farmer Raymond had always aspired to manage a prosperous egg business. His farm, situated in a charming valley in Georgia, had been passed down through his family for generations. Unfortunately, the past few years had proven to be challenging for him. What was once a flourishing farm was now barely managing to stay afloat. The rising cost of feed, growing competition, and dwindling demand for his conventional brown and white eggs had significantly impacted his livelihood. So, when he unexpectedly came across a dozen black eggs scattered across his farm, he was so shocked that he stood frozen in place for nearly 10 minutes. He had never encountered or even heard of eggs like these before. None of his chickens had ever produced anything remotely similar. For a moment, he wondered if they might be snake eggs and cautiously scanned the area, searching for any slithering creatures in the tall grass. However, it appeared that whatever had laid the eggs had already moved on and abandoned them. Farmer Raymond didn't know what to think. On one hand, those odd eggs might reveal scary creatures he would later have to fight to get out of his house. On the other hand, they could be exactly what his farm needed to prosper again. People might be willing to pay more for those eggs if it meant giving a fun twist to their omelets. Perhaps they might even pay more for the chicken meat, especially around holidays such as Halloween. He could become rich if those eggs hatched more black chicks. That is, unless someone else came to claim them before he did. Raymond was not a thief, but those eggs were legally on his property, and he was simply too curious to leave them out in the open for everyone else to see. So he muttered a quick sorry to whatever creature had laid them and started loading them onto his truck. He would put them in an incubator he kept at the farm and wait for them to hatch to reveal the surprise inside. In the following days, Raymond monitored the eggs closely and adjusted the temperature and humidity levels with precision, so they mirrored the warmth the eggs could get from a mother hen. Every morning, he would check on them, and his heart lifted at the sight of the smooth black shells still intact. He dared to dream about the strange creatures that would soon emerge from them. Would they be completely black as well? In his quiet moments, Raymond imagined the flurry of interest these rare eggs could generate. He envisioned buyers flocking to his farm, each eager to pay top dollar to see completely black chickens. But despite his excitement, Raymond remained cautious. He knew there was still a long way to go before the eggs hatched. The days turned into weeks as Raymond anxiously awaited the hatching of the black eggs. The expected hatching date came and went without any signs of life. Each day, Raymond checked the incubator, desperately hoping to see cracks in the shells or hear the faint peeping of chicks. But the eggs remained still and silent. It was as if their black shells mocked his hopes. Tension built within Raymond as the days continued to pass without any change. The longer he waited, the more his doubts began to grow. Had he been wrong to bring those eggs into his home? What if they didn't belong to chickens at all? Could he have unknowingly endangered the entire farm? Uncertainty took hold of him, slowly eroding his confidence. Raymond's daily routine had turned into an endless loop of diligence and concern. He rose before sunrise, beginning each day by inspecting the temperature and humidity levels in the incubator. Despite his growing anxiety, he tried to remain hopeful. He reassured himself that the mysterious eggs were a blessing from fate rather than a sign of misfortune. After tending to the eggs, Raymond moved on to the rest of his chores. He fed and watered his chickens, cleaned the coops, and collected the regular brown and white eggs. The farm was still struggling, and the demands of maintaining it weighed heavily on his shoulders. Each task seemed more arduous, and his worry over the black eggs cast a shadow over everything he did. One chilly morning, Raymond woke up feeling unusually weak. His head throbbed, and his body ached with fever. He tried to push through the discomfort, but it quickly became clear that he was too ill to carry out his daily tasks. The relentless worry and sleepless nights had taken their toll, leaving him bedridden and unable to care for the farm. Days turned into a blur as Raymond lay in bed, his mind foggy with fever. The farm, once bustling with activity, began to show signs of neglect. Weeds grew unchecked, the chicken coops became dirty, and the feed bins started to run low. Regular egg production dwindled as Raymond's absence took its toll on the animals. The tight-knit community around Raymond's farm began to notice the changes. Neighbors whispered among themselves, concerned about the once thriving farm now falling into disrepair. Jake, Raymond's longtime friend and neighbor, was the first to take action. He decided to check on the farm and see if Raymond needed any help. As he approached the farmhouse, he saw the signs of neglect and knew something was seriously wrong. Jake knocked on the door and found Raymond in a weak state, barely able to get out of bed. Realizing the severity of the situation, Jake quickly took charge. He assured Raymond that he would take care of the farm while he recovered and urged him to rest and regain his strength. Jake threw himself into the work. He tended to the chickens, cleaned the coops, and made sure the animals were fed. He even reached out to other neighbors and asked for their help to keep the farm running. However, in his weakened state, Raymond forgot to tell his friends about the mysterious eggs in the incubator. Soon enough, Jake and the other neighbors would get the surprise of their lives. One evening, as Jake was finishing up the day's chores, he heard a faint peeping sound coming from the chicken coop. His heart skipped a beat as he hurried inside with a flashlight in hand. He scanned the rows of nests. The sound grew louder. Finally, he reached the incubator and saw movement inside one of the black eggs. He was shocked at the sight and wondered where on earth Raymond had found such strange eggs. Jake rushed back to the farmhouse to tell his friend that the mysterious eggs in his incubator were hatching. What on earth could be inside them? Jake wondered aloud. Raymond only shook his head, telling his friend that he didn't know yet. But despite his weakened state, his eyes lit up with hope. Perhaps this was going to be the turning point he needed. As he recovered, Raymond recounted the entire story to Jake about the mysterious black eggs, from the moment he discovered them to the sleepless nights spent fearing they might bring disaster to his farm. He felt thankful to have his friends by his side now that the eggs were finally starting to hatch. If something bad emerged, they would help him deal with it. But if something extraordinary came from them, they would all celebrate the moment together. 2 days later, Raymond was well enough to get out of bed. He and Jake knelt by the incubator, their faces inches from the hatching eggs. Then the first chick emerged, out a sigh of relief when they realized that the animals inside the eggs were indeed birds. But the sigh turned into an excited gasp when they noticed the chick's features. Its feathers were a glossy black that shimmered in the dim light. The chick's eyes blinked open, and it let out a small triumphant chirp. One by one, the other eggs began to hatch. Each chick was a marvel, with sleek black feathers and bright, curious eyes. The hatching process was mesmerizing. The chicks struggled and fought their way out of the shells, displaying a resilience that reflected Raymond's own journey. He watched, transfixed, as the last chick finally broke free. Jake quickly whipped out his phone and started searching for answers on the internet. These might be Ayam Cemani chicks, he said eventually, his voice broken with emotion. Raymond turned toward him with a frown. He had no idea what Ayam Cemani chicks were. Chuckling, Jake explained that these Indonesian chickens are extremely rare and sought after because of their jet black features, including eyes, beak, feathers, and even their bones. Their eggs could be sold at an astonishing price. He was also sure that people would pay just to see the chickens. Jake couldn't understand how those eggs ended up on Raymond's farm, but he was confident they would solve all of Raymond's financial problems. At that moment, Raymond's emotions overwhelmed him. Tears welled up in his eyes, and he didn't try to stop them. He had fought so hard and sacrificed so much, and now, at last, he held the promise of a brighter future in his hands. The sight of the Ayam Cemani chicks, so rare and so beautiful, brought a profound sense of relief and joy. He wept openly, his tears falling onto the straw-covered floor. The reality of the moment was sinking in. His farm had been on the brink of failure, but fate had bestowed upon it a chance to thrive. The black eggs had finally hatched, marking the beginning of a new chapter for Raymond's farm. The news of the hatching spread quickly through the community. Neighbors who had supported Raymond during his illness flocked to the farm to witness the extraordinary chicks. They were in awe of the Ayam Cemani. Their jet black plumage and stunning appearance left everyone gasping in admiration. Raymond's renewed hope wasn't just about financial stability. It was about the dream he had almost lost and the passion he had poured into his work. The Ayam Cemeni chicks symbolized a fresh start, a chance to rebuild and grow. As he watched the chicks explore their new world and peck at the straw, Raymond felt a sense of fulfillment he hadn't known in years. In the days that followed, he carefully tended to the chicks. It was essential to ensure they received the best care. He constructed a special enclosure for them, complete with heat lamps and fresh bedding. He documented their growth, taking notes on their development and behavior. Their sleek black feathers gleamed in the sunlight, and their curious, lively nature brought new energy to the farm. But it wasn't long before Raymond began to notice something extraordinary about these chicks. Their unique characteristics went beyond their stunning appearance. The chicks were incredibly hardy. They thrived in conditions that would challenge other breeds. They grew faster and stronger than Raymond had anticipated, displaying a robustness that set them apart. Their feathers weren't just black, they had an iridescent sheen. When the light was just right, they shimmered with hints of green and purple, as if they carried a touch of magic in their plumage. Raymond meticulously documented these observations. He realized that his Ayam Cemeni brood was exceptional, even within their rare breed. Their quality and rarity made them a potential gold mine. Word of the remarkable chicks spread quickly and drew attention from beyond the local community. One afternoon, Raymond received a visit from a man who introduced himself as Mr. Harris, a wealthy investor with a keen interest in rare and exotic breeds. Mr. Harris had heard about Raymond's Ayam Cemeni chicks and was eager to see them for himself. Mr. Harris was immediately captivated by the sight of the Ayam Cemeni. He admired their unique beauty and noted their impressive health and vigor. Turning to Raymond, his eyes gleaming with interest, he said, "These chicks are extraordinary. I've never seen anything quite like them." Raymond felt a surge of pride. He agreed they were special and explained that he had put everything into raising them. Mr. Harris nodded thoughtfully. "I can see that," he said. "I believe these birds hold tremendous potential, not just for breeding, but also for appealing to niche markets that value their rarity and beauty enough to pay a premium. I'd like to propose an offer to you." Raymond's heart raced as Mr. Harris outlined his proposal. He was willing to invest in Raymond's farm, providing the financial support needed to expand and improve operations. In return, Mr. Harris wanted a share of the future profits from Ayam Cemeni sales and breeding programs. The offer was generous and would secure Raymond's financial future. Above all, it would ensure the farm's stability and growth. Raymond listened carefully and weighed the offer. This was the opportunity he had been waiting for, a chance not only to save his farm, but to see it thrive beyond his wildest dreams. With a firm handshake, Raymond accepted the proposal. A weight lifted off his shoulders. The partnership with Mr. Harris meant that his Ayam Cemeni chicks would bring prosperity and recognition to his farm. But it still wasn't over. One sunny afternoon, as Raymond was tending to the flock, he noticed something peculiar about one of the chicks. It was slightly larger than the others, and its feathers had an even more pronounced iridescent sheen. Intrigued, Raymond decided to take a closer look. He carefully examined the chick. Its eyes were a striking shade of blue, unlike the dark eyes of the other Ayam Cemeni. Raymond's heart skipped a beat as he realized he might have stumbled upon something extraordinary. He quickly contacted a geneticist who specialized in poultry to examine the chick. The geneticist arrived and conducted a series of tests. The results were astonishing. The chick possessed a rare genetic mutation that enhanced its already remarkable characteristics. This mutation not only made it even more visually stunning, but also endowed it with increased resilience and a faster growth rate. The chick was, in essence, a perfect specimen of the Ayam Cemeni breed. Its qualities were unparalleled. News of the extraordinary chick spread quickly. Collectors, breeders, and enthusiasts clamored to see and potentially acquire the bird. The demand skyrocketed, and offers poured in, each one higher than the last. The revelation of this unique genetic mutation ensured that Raymond's farm would remain at the forefront of the rare poultry market for years to come. With the value and demand for his Ayam Cemeni chicks firmly established, Raymond's long-term success and the farm's sustainability were assured. Each day, He would stand in the coop, watching the majestic birds peck at the ground, as a profound sense of fulfillment swept over him. Against all odds, he had not only rescued his farm, but transformed it into a beacon of hope and success.